Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I am super excited today because I'm being put on the spot. Sharon, who happens to be one of my customers, has decided that she has a lot of travel questions post COVID. And I figured it was really a great opportunity for her to ask them. I haven't seen them, by the way, so full disclosure, don't know them. This is going to be completely raw. Sharon is going to go ahead and ask me questions about travel, what she should expect, things like that. I'm assuming, and we're gonna kind of take it by there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in on the chat, and we should be able to see them. So, with that, I give the floor over to Sharon.
Well, hello, Lulu, and thank you for inviting me. I've kind of put together some questions for you. I've polled some of my friends. I have questions myself, and we want to get back out there, but we're afraid. We are really afraid, and rightfully so, as you know.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a few things that we want to ask you, and here we go.
All right, I'm ready.
So, many of us, I think everyone is tired of actually being inside. They want to get out and travel, but their concerns are obviously coronavirus and that there's not a vaccine yet. And how will they travel? Will they be safe in traveling? So maybe let's start there with recommendations for how we should travel. And being that we're nervous, maybe some of us are just interested in more of a staycation or something close in proximity to our homes. But if we're going to drive, what should we be concerned about in terms of when we select our hotel, or what can we look at as the check-in process from a hotel perspective?
Okay, lots of questions in that one piece. So let's start with you should focus on what you're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. So you mentioned staycations or a drive or something semi-local. So where are you feeling comfortable in terms of going? What are you seeing in your neighborhood? I'm not even talking about going further than that. How are people reacting in your neighborhood? Are people following CDC guidelines? Are people following, or are you following them?
Mm-hmm.
Because just because we're we're taking a mask, my government is opening up, my state, but my municipality maybe have a little bit more restrictions, or maybe my municipality doesn't have as many restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of feel how comfortable you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to make the determination of how you travel.
Well, our state was one of the first states that opened, obviously.
Right.
We are in Georgia. Obviously, the CDC is based here as well. So we're getting a lot of information here as well. But there's still a lot of us that are still very, very concerned about traveling. So I would say that most people are planning to stay within maybe a 4-hour radius, and probably they would travel by car, not necessarily get on a plane. But I want to know about that too. But let me go with the car component. So let's say, for instance, we are comfortable in going in our own car, but we decided we're going to rent an SUV or a van. What do we look at if we're now going to a Hertz or to a rental car?
Yeah, great question. So looking at as going into the rental car place, you want to make sure that that they've cleaned the car. Now they normally clean the car, but you want maybe have them give you some wipes or bring your own wipes so that you wipe down the steering wheel, you wipe down basically everything that you're going to touch in the car, right? So you can have a lot of those moving pieces. You're going to have your hand sanitizer with you. You may want to, stop somewhere along the lines and buy an aerosol can of Lysol or something to spray the car down. Or you may want to have a natural alcohol based cleaner. You know, again, it's going to be your determination. What do you feel comfortable with? Are you comfortable with a natural cleaner, or do you want something that's like Lysol or Clorox, or, you know, a brand name that has chemicals? So you're going to have to determine that, right? Because it's you and your family that are going to be in that vehicle. So want to make sure everybody can breathe. So if anybody's got any issues with any of these chemicals, you're going to want, you know, you need to roll down your windows, and you need to be cognizant of that. As you get to, as you're going to fill up for gas, I would make sure I have wipies with me, and I would wipe down the handle as well as the screen. So that way, as you wipe down the screen, and you punch in your numbers, you know, you're putting in your credit card, you clean all of that. Like, use a wipe to clean it. So that way, it's also actually not a bad idea, because you can also feel if there's a skimmer. So kind of, you know, twofold in that direction. But then use your wipe to, again, wipe down the handle and everything else, pump your gas, and, you know, you put it back again with your wipe, and then you throw your wipe away. When you get back into the car, use your hand sanitizer. So, and that way, I think that kind of covers it. When you're going into the bathrooms, obviously these are public bathrooms, and so you may or may not have social distancing. The stalls are not necessarily 6 feet apart, even though there are closed doors. But again, there's doors, there's handles, you know, you're washing your hands and things like that. And so, and a lot of times when you're washing your hands, the sensors don't always turn on. So everybody's touching everything. And it's, you know, you're like, oh my God, you get frustrated because you want to wash your hands for the 20 seconds and all of that. So just bring patience, because again, you're going to need some of that. I don't travel anywhere without my wipes. So in my car, I've got one of the big Costco, what am I calling containers of the wipes, and so that's what I have, and I'm cognizant of that. So if I have to go to the bathroom, I'm using that wipe to open the doors, you know, and use the locks and everything else, wiping down the seat, and doing a little extra cleaning. When I get to a hotel, a lot of the branded hotels are actually going to have the case, like the stand-up clear barriers, very similar to what you have, say, at a buffet, or when or what you have when you go to the deli counters, where you've got those plastic coverings. So you'll be talking to somebody through that. There might be a little place where you can kind of put your license and your your ID, you know, and your credit card and all that, so that they can swipe, but then they're going to give it back to you. They may be wearing gloves and a mask. So just be cognizant of that. There are some places that won't do that. So it's going to be up to you on how you feel in terms of the social distancing and things like that. I think it's important that when you book something, you ask those questions. So when you hire a travel advisor like myself, we're going to ask those questions for you.
Because I think that with many of the brands, they're looking at different ways for when you check in, and there may be even an app that will allow you to check in, you know, open your doors. But I would think maybe for smaller properties or independent properties, that wouldn't be applicable.
I wouldn't count on there being an app for a smaller property, or for those bed and breakfast kind of properties, those unique accommodations. The branded properties will have something, and all of the properties, no matter where they're going, they're all going to have their COVID cleaning rules. I won't call them rules, but protocols. So you as a guest feel comfortable in terms of what they are doing and what they're not doing. So most hotels are not cleaning in between your stay unless you request it. They're only doing upon checkout. So that way, and as you check out, they're actually doing a pause of that room. So many properties are doing not selling that room for 48 to 72 hours, so that it airs out, it gets cleaned, and then somebody can come in.
Okay.
So those protocols and things like that that are happening, they're being posted on all of the hotel websites.
Okay.
But if you're not sure, the easiest way to do is to call them and ask. Not everything that's put on their website is going to be what you may expect. So have that conversation. It's really important.
Now, if I'm booking through you, would you handle that part of it to be able to deliver that information, or do I still need to call the hotel directly?
I handle that for you, but if you're not comfortable with the information that I have found and you have additional questions,
Okay.
I then suggest you call the hotel. But if I'm handling it, I'm already guiding you on the fact that I'm vetting that the property has already doing all of these protocols, and it's a place where I am willing to stay.
Okay. That's important to know. Mm-hmm.
Right, because I won't put you anywhere I won't stay. If I don't feel comfortable, no booking here.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much for that. So what precautions should I take when preparing for a flight? So we have a very large airport here,
yes,
as you know. So, I'm getting ready to go to the airport. Yes, I have my wipes, I have everything. What is that process going to be like for me now when I arrive? From the TSA?
All the way through. Absolutely. So every airline has different rules, as we all know. The TSA pretty much is asking you to swipe your own boarding pass. So for those of us who are doing it on the mobile, we've been doing that already. So these are really for the people who have a printed copy.
Okay.
So everybody's wearing gloves and they've got their masks on and so forth. So you're going to want to have some level of face covering. Most of the flights are basically saying you need to have a face covering. When you get on board, they're requesting you keep it. So they can't control you, but your other traveling peers will say something. So you want to keep in mind that you're not traveling alone, and at the end of the day, you're safer as a herd mentality to keep your face covering on, because it's going to help everybody else to make sure that they don't get your germs. The CDC has said gloves can go either way. So it's really going to depend on how much you touch your face. If you're a face toucher like I am, chances are you're going to want to wear gloves. And look, I'm a face toucher because I have glasses, and I get it. I'm constantly moving them. So my fingers are always by my eyes and by my nose. That's something I can't stop, right? I can do this only so much, but you do need to adjust. So again, it really is how you feel comfortable. My first flight is going to be to New York. I'm based in Austin, Texas right now, and New York is still an epicenter, right? So, my first trip will be there to go visit my family, and I want to go there first before I go gallivanting anywhere else. So I know that when I get there, when I get to the airport, I have to keep my face covering. I have to do all of that. But once I land in New York and I get to their residence, I have to make sure that, I go and take a shower. I go and, wipe down everything that I've done. I go and throw my clothes in the laundry or in a bag that can't be touched. So that's just to prevent anything from living on me from the time that I left my house to the time that I got to them. So
I've heard a lot about when boarding. So obviously when you are boarding, and let me just go to my question here. How are they preparing, like when you're in the jet area where you're just waiting to board your flight? how are they handling the social distancing there? Are they only allowing X number of people on at a time? Because typically we're all jammed in together. Everybody's waiting to get
Right.
to the seat. How is that being handled today?
So different airlines have different rules.
Mm-hmm.
Southwest, as an example, since they board by numbers, they're calling you by letter and number in groups of 10.
Okay.
So that's kind of how they're managing that. JetBlue and Delta, from my understanding, they're doing from the rear of the plane to the front. So a lot of these, the benefits of pre-boarding and all that kind of stuff, unless you're physically unable to, you need more time, like you're in a wheelchair or something along those lines, those have been cut down. Your status, people with statuses and things like that have also, that's a little different as well, again, based on the airline. So, because the idea is that if you're not on the plane, you're not going to be, all those other people aren't going to be passing you. So you might be last to board, but that's okay. That means that you just haven't been exposed to all these people for all the time in this tiny metal tube.
Right. Okay. And I heard a lot about not assigning any middle seats. Is that true for all airlines? Most airlines? What do you know about?
I know Delta is definitely doing that. And Southwest has some of that as well. I'm not too sure about United or American at this time, but pretty much what they are Xing out certain amount of seats, so that if you're traveling as a family together, you can still have that middle seat. You can have the three across, etc. But if you're a solo traveler, they're really trying to zigzag you. And from my colleagues who have already flown, they have noticed quite a bit of zigzagging in terms of the seating arrangements. So it's being done strategically in order to prevent that social distancing not occurring.
Okay. So speaking to the zigzagging, are you saying that there will be someone on an aisle seat and a window seat, and then it'll crisscross back there, or we're only going to have someone on the aisle and then skip to window?
It could be a bit of both.
Okay.
So where you might have somebody on the aisle and somebody on the window, no middle seat, and then nobody in the row in front or behind you.
Okay.
It could be that you have a row to yourself and one person is at the window and another person is at the aisle.
Okay.
So, and if you've got the row to yourself, actually take the middle seat. It's the safest. Because you won't bump into anybody.
This is true. Okay. And how are typically, and I typically don't go, but if you have small kids or there's a need to have to go to the restroom, typically there's a line and everybody's waiting. How is that being handled today?
So from my understanding, in terms of a lot of the rules, there's no congregation. So that means that so you can't get up and get on a line, whether it's walking to the front or the back of the plane. So you essentially, kind of like grammar school, you've got to go raise your hand and go, can I go to the bathroom, please? So you either put your call light on and ask or something like that. What I have been hearing from my colleagues, as well as my flight attendant friends, is that they are, after a person uses the restroom, they're going in, they're wiping it down for the next person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there are cleaning protocols that are occurring. Again, every airline is different. So no, I'm not singling out one particular airline doing one thing over another. But that is the overall expectation of what I have heard and folks have experienced.
Okay. So Lulu, what can we expect, or what countries will be opening first for international travel?
It's a great question. It's kind of, a little bit of a crystal ball, right? So right now, Antigua and Barbuda are open, as is St. Lucia. So some of the Caribbean islands are starting to prepare themselves for opening. Even Mexico's preparing themselves for opening. So this month and next month is kind of where we're looking at. We're looking also at even Portugal opening up, and even some of the Nordic countries as well. So everybody's kind of starting, off small and then expanding out. Central and South American countries will open up once our numbers get more under control, to be honest. So once our level 4 has dropped off, in terms of international travel, we'll be seeing more and more countries open up. In terms of when we should look at planning for travel, I'm comfortable with September onward.
Okay. So you're looking more at fourth quarter and then 2021.
Correct.
Okay. That's good to know.
And just as a side note too, you can start planning 2021 and we can have payment plan options. We can have things that coordinate and move all of that. So you don't have to put all of your money down now. And there are a lot of newer cancellation rules in case you don't feel comfortable traveling. So there are a little bit more flexibility in terms of postponing and rebooking.
So in terms of that, and speaking to that, let's say, for instance, I were to book, and let's just even talk about this year towards the end of the year. Let's say I want to take a vacation for Christmas and I give a deposit, but there's talks of maybe this reoccurring again in the fall. Is there any kind of protection? Will the travel protection rules help me, or what do I need to have in place that I can get a refund?
That's a great question. So a lot of the things, travel protection in itself right now still does not cover pandemics, still does not cover fear or epidemics or anything along those lines. So some agencies are offering cancel for any reason, but it is limited and it is expensive. So not gonna, tell you that that's the way to go. However, the suppliers themselves are creating flexibility rules that because they want you to book travel, they want you to go. So in order for them to help you with all of those moving pieces, they're giving some flexibility. They may be giving you a voucher for future use, or if flights cancel or destinations are they themselves are deeming it the force majeure, they will offer you something. So what that something is depends on the supplier.
Okay. And are you yourself, what are you doing in terms of, is there any incentive you have presently that you're offering consumers to book with you now for 2021 or the end of 2020?
So right now, the biggest value is really that that I'm going to be on it and that I'm going to be the one who's going to be taking care of all of those moving pieces. I do have a retainer fee for people that want to hire me for the services. So I'm willing to work with you on that. If your trip cancels or anything along those lines, you don't have to pay me again. I'm willing to certainly offer for you to be able to use it in the future. As far as helping you get your money back and all of that, that's part of the services that I offer. So I'm your advocate, and I make sure that your monies are not lost.
Okay, that's great. And lastly, of course, when we're booking these trips, and let's say we want to book activities, and I know you do that very, very well, but I know that Disney is proposing opening in July, at least the Orlando location. What do you foresee as that will look like for us? Because that's a large park.
Yeah, that's a huge. So not only Disney, but Universal as well, and some of the other parks. They're looking to open up at anywhere between 25 to 50% occupancy. They're sort of working on some of the rules right now in
Mhm.
terms of, who's gonna get into what. Are you gonna need appointments, times or things like that for certain rides? I don't have the logistics on that, since I don't honestly book that many Disney or Universal trips, but I am getting educated on it. So if it's something that is important for you, I will certainly get you that information.
Okay. And what can we look forward to? Or, I mean, a lot of us love cruises, and that's not been the best place right now. So, how can we feel more comfortable about planning for a cruise or taking a cruise?
Yeah. So I think that the cruise industry has gotten hit really hard.
Mhm.
The CDC has really put the cruise lines in a position where, oh my God, you're with hundreds of thousands of people, and this is where you're going to get the virus quicker, and you can't escape it.
Mhm.
I think a lot of us who have cruised know that, I mean, the norovirus has existed before this,
Mhm.
and they all know that at times, if there's somebody that gets sick or whatever, things are managed on the cruise, and I think they're managed pretty well. I know that Royal Caribbean is thinking of many different ways of how they're going to be managing their, having their sanitations, the what am I thinking of? The hand sanitizer
Okay.
stands and things like
Mhm.
that. They're going to be working on different things, but at the end of the day, social distancing on a cruise is not an easy task. So I would say if you're already out and about, and you're willing to kind of go on a cruise, look at maybe some of the smaller cruise lines. Look
Okay.
at look at the cruise lines that maybe offer you less than 1,000 people.
Okay.
So maybe like if you want to do Alaska as an example, maybe don't look at a cruise line that's huge. I would
Mhm.
say Uncruise as an example. They have 80 people.
Okay.
So the smaller boats, the smaller yachts, and things like that. That might be an option. It's a conversation to have. you can you um can you book now for future years? Absolutely. So if you want to book a cruise but you kind of want to play it out and you want to just have something on the calendar to look forward to, look at 20 end of 2021, look at 2022. There's even some cruise lines that have gone out and are starting to put out 2023.
Mm.
So again, it's going to be up to your comfort level, what you want to do.
Mhm.
Keep in mind that you can also look at cruises that aren't cruises to nowhere, or that you're going to be at sea a lot. Look
Right.
at cruises
Okay.
that you're going to be in more of a port, so that
Mhm.
way you're not on the ship that much.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Well, I said that was the last one, but I do have some more. I just thought of some other things. So, there's a lot of things I'm hearing about Hawaii in terms of quarantine and all of that.
Right.
How does that all work?
So right now, Governor Ong has pretty much set up that the state is closed.
Hmm.
So you really can't go to Hawaii.
Hmm.
He has a fine as well if you show up.
Hmm.
So right now, them in Alaska are pretty much set to just taking care of their folks,
Okay.
and really minimizing any exposure, because they don't have the bandwidth to
Hmm.
manage. They're so spread out.
Okay.
And so, especially Hawaii being on all those, having all the islands.
Hmm.
So the concept is that you're really looking at, I would say, Hawaii. Let's probably plan it for next year, and I would
Okay.
say mid next year,
Hmm.
because by that point, any second waves or anything along those lines, in my professional opinion,
Hmm.
should be managed.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
don't foresee Hawaii as a destination for like December, as an example.
Okay.
And I know that's the beginning of whale watching season. So, you know, I would really be very conservative when it comes to Hawaii. Alaska has closed their entire season for this year. So Alaska, even, you know, for cruising and things like that. So their whole entire summer season is gone. So I would look at Alaska as an example for 2021. Think of the midnight sun for Alaska, maybe.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Maybe lastly, but I'll probably think of something else. So as a business traveler in first class, what's changed? What do I look for now? What, you know, because I had all these privileges.
Yeah. So, and I'm not going to just focus on business class. I think everybody, you're used to getting some snacks, you're used to getting some drinks and things like that. You're going to get something that's prepackaged for you, a little bag. Your little bag in first class is going to be just a little different than the people in economy.
Okay.
But as far as, you know, the whole setup of, you know, getting a meal, having somebody come and, you know, hand you
my code. Yeah, paying my quota.
Yes. Some of those services are going to stay. I mean, because those are customer service things. But you are going to see that the flight attendants, based on the airline, are going to be wearing masks, are going to be wearing gloves. Some of them will have PPE. So you just have to kind of know that some of it is going to feel like a sterile environment. And you have to mentally be prepared for that. And that's not something that I, as a travel advisor, can do for you. I can tell you, but you have to be like, okay, I know that some of these things are going to feel like I'm in a hospital. And some things are not. And when you go on a vacation, you don't want to feel like you're in a hospital. You want to feel like you're at a resort.
Right.
So, but getting there and coming home is going to be more of a sterile environment, especially right now.
Okay. Okay. Well, welcome to our new norm.
Yes.
And I thank you so much for answering all of the questions I had. I don't have any more questions at this time. You know, I'll think of something and I'll reach out. But I thank you for the opportunity. I hope that I've answered some of those, gotten the answers for many of the consumers that may have had the same concerns.
Yeah. And I thank you for taking the time to ask me them, because I know that people have questions and some people are afraid to ask. So, and that was the whole point of our dialogue. I don't see any questions that have come in. So I'm hoping that if you do have any questions, that you do ask them, and that that I am able to help answer them and help you understand where you are in the travel, in the travel funnel, so to speak. So are you ready to travel, or are you just ready to dream? And everybody's got a different comfort level, and nobody should be chastised on what comfort level they've got, because it's a personal, it's just how you feel. And I think that's super important, that everybody kind of knows all of those moving pieces.
So Lulu, is it best if I have additional questions or know people that have additional questions for you, is it best to contact you via email or give you a call? What's the best way?
So they can call if they want to chat with me. My number is 866-963-BOOK 2665. If they want to email me, it's info at bookheregivehere.com. If you want to find me on any social media channel, all you got to do is type in my name or type in the company, and which is Book Here, Give Here, and we'll be able to answer all of your questions.
And you now have a virtual business card as well you'll be using, right?
Yes. So you can text 21,000, and the word is travel.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So travel to 21,000.
Great. Well, thank you again, Lulu.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And everybody who's been watching, hopefully I've answered your questions. And if you need anything more, I'm here to help. Namaste.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.